What's happening, guys? Welcome to another boxing breakdown and prediction show for this Saturday's lightweight clash between Gervonta Tank Davis and Rolly Romero live over on Showtime this weekend. So let's get into it. Now, Davis comes into this one anywhere between the minus 1200, minus 1000 favourite ahead of Saturday's fight. And look, it's understandable, obviously. These guys just aren't on the same level, in my opinion, at least. And, Raleigh's not rated anywhere in the top 10 by Transnational either. And this fight has purely come about, through Mayweather's kind of reluctance, who's, Tank Davis's promoter, to work with other promoters. He said after the Isaac Cruz fight that Tank was, going to work in house from now on. And, lightweight's absolutely stacked. It's a stacked division right now. And thankfully, that's something Tank's obviously picked up on. He seems to want those big fights at this weight. Against the likes of, Devin Haney, Cambosis, Garcia, and so on. And if Mayweather can't or won't deliver those fights to him, then Davis has strongly suggested he'll be moving on after this fight. So, who's exactly he's fighting here on Saturday? Rolly Romero. Rolly Romero is an extremely entertaining character, let's put it like that. The build up to this fight has been absolutely comical in parts. Rolly's a fantastic trash talker. He really seems to have gotten under Davis's skin as a result as well. But despite all that, despite the fact also that he's a big lightweight as well, Rolly's got a huge upper back and shoulders on him. And he kind of wants to take your head clean off with every punch he throws. But that aggressiveness is very likely going to be his downfall in this one. Rolly's pretty much knocked out everyone he's faced over the last few years, bar the one guy he couldn't stop, Jackson Martinez back in 2020. Marina is very, very high level boxer. He's very technical. And he was honestly making Rolly look silly in parts over the back half of that fight 2 years ago. Rolly started fast in that one. You could tell Martinez was feeling that power early on in that fight as well. Rolly does hit hard in there, which is what makes this fight so entertaining. Early on in that fight, Martinez was using a lot of hit and run tactics over the opening few rounds to kind of negate Rolly's power advantage over him. But, as that fight wore on, Martinez started to get more and more comfortable in there. He started not even, exit the pocket near the end of the fight and got such a comprehensive read on Rolly that it wasn't even competitive for me over the last few rounds. Martinez started timing him with counters on the inside. Rolly looked frustrated in there. His power advantage was being completely negated by, Marina's speed and time, and so much so that it was actually Rolly starting to back up near the end of the fight, not Marina's. And that's likely going to be a huge problem for Rolly in this one as well, is, that predictability of his is going to be an absolute homing beacon to a guy who hits as hard and sets up his shots as well as Gervonta Davis does. You hear Canelo Alvarez get asked all the time in interviews, outside of himself, who is one fighter that impresses him the most. And more often than not, Tank's name is the one mentioned, and it's for good reason. Tank is an extremely high level operator in there. He's a multi-dimensional fighter as well, just like Canelo is. Doesn't rely heavily on any one aspect of his game. And, while both Rolly and Tank carry extreme power heading into this fight, only one of them has the ability to disguise that power. Rolly's very crude sometimes in the way he looks to set up power shots, while Tank, you only need to look at the way he baited in Santa Cruz with that straight right hand, before dipping low. And he nearly took Leo's head off with that uppercut. Really, really high level stuff. And if Jackson Martinez can get that read on Rolly in there, and just to mention too, that was one of the worst decisions of 2020. Martinez clearly won that fight for me, but this is boxing. So as I said, if Martinez can get that read in Rolly where, he's comfortable enough to simply stay on the inside and trade with a far heavier handed guy in Rolly, then Tank should equally be as comfortable in doing the same, especially with the kind of power that, Davis can crack with. So, I kind of went back and forth in this one in terms of how I see this fight playing out. Davis minus 400 for the outright stoppage, doesn't present a whole lot of value at that kind of price. So I was looking at Davis ranks 1-6 potentially initially, but for all Rolly's bravado in there, when Marina's stuck on him late on in their fight, he did start to back up. And, when he gets a taste of Tank's power in this one, he might well look to do the same. But, by the same token, I'm not really comfortable taking the round 7-12 prop either, as I do think once Tank gets a read in him in this one, this fight is effectively over. So I'm going to split the difference here. I'm going to take Tank in rounds 5-8 at plus 175. That gets us the middle rounds of, 5, 6, 7, and 8 for Tank to get the stoppage in. And I like that, as I think while it's going to take Tank a few rounds to get fully warmed up in there, get a read on Raleigh. Once he does, it's going to be curtains for Raleigh. And, hopefully then we see Davis move on from this, finally live up to that potential that he's shown throughout most of his career and look to take those big fights in this division. So that's going to do it from me. That'll wrap things up for this episode. As always, leave us your thoughts in the comment section below. And you can also catch me over on Twitter at the SportsWolf83 and at my handicapper page, Kevin Dolan, over at WagerTalk. As always, thanks for listening. Till next time, Sana Walia.